Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are here to take a look at another Camp Cretaceous figure. This is a Soundstrike Sinoceratops, the newest Soundstrike figure from Mattel. This was just recently put up on Amazon for everyone and anyone interested to purchase, and I actually did make a post in the community section of this channel to make sure everyone was aware of the fact that it was up for sale because I knew there were a lot of people that were interested in it. So if you have not seen that post, hopefully you'll still have an opportunity to buy this as it was kind of going in and out of stock for a few days there. But I can tell you straight away, looking at it right here in person, this is definitely and without question my new favorite Soundstrike figure, and that's completely going back through all the other Soundstrike figures, even outdoing the Majungasaurus, which I am a gigantic fan of Majungasaurus, but this Sinoceratops is just insanely nice looking here in person. I was instantly flabbergasted when I pulled this out of the box. It's so beautiful. The package art is pretty much your usual Camp Cretaceous style packaging with some of the Camp Cretaceous characters right there. Toro, the Carnotaurus, as well as an image of the Sinoceratops and its action feature right there. And then if we turn it around, we do have that kind of like little booklet thing over here included, as well as a few more images of the Sinoceratops, again some more of its action features, and two other figures that are contained within this line of Soundstrike figures. So let's go ahead, break this out of the box, and take a look at it. And here is our Sinoceratops facing the opposite direction from the way that it was displayed in the packaging, where you really couldn't see this side, and again, insanely nicely done. And one thing I'm really impressed with, on top of the sheer size of that nasal horn, is how nicely sized the tail is. That tail is actually pretty darn long, which is something you don't see too often from Mattel figures. More often than not, you get that fairly short tail, but I feel like the tail length of this Sinoceratops is actually quite reminiscent of the way it appeared in the film, so that is definitely a gigantic plus straight away as far as that goes. I feel like this has the potential to be one of the best Mattel figures in general. If they would have included some nail paint, which I could see straight away, this might have definitely been one of the absolute best Mattel figures. Even still, without that nail paint, it's really up there. But let's go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Sinoceratops, look at the really nice detailing there in the beak of the animal. Really beautifully detailed with lots of cracks and crevices within the beak. Really nice skin texture here on the lower side of the head sculpt as well. Once you actually come up here into the upper side of the head sculpt, you have kind of like a creamy color, but you can see a really nicely painted eye there with a beautiful black coloration and a really nice gloss coat over top of the eye, and I think that is really well done. I'm glad they painted it like that. You can also see sort of like a pupil there. If we get nice and close, you can see an area where they've kind of given it like that blue that you see prior to that, like that coloration behind it. You also see like that blue pupil, but I think they would have probably just done better if they would have just given it an entirely black eye instead of even adding that little blue in there, but it still looks pretty good for what it is. Up here on the horn, you can see some really nice detailing included within, and a beautiful dark gray for the horn right there. I'm really sad that they didn't paint this horn. They left that one similar to like the blue, that same blue that we see all over the place, but all the other horns seem to be painted except for that one. That is definitely a bit of a downside, and very strange that they chose not to paint that horn when they could have just done just two more horns and it would have been pretty much picture perfect in that aspect. You can also see some really nice coloration up here with like an orangish brown and then some more of that creamy color right there. But look at how insanely nicely done the scale work is as we get back here into the frill. Definitely something that is a strong candidate for a repaint for sure. You can see that the horns look really good that run along the frill, but also run up the center of the frill here as well. And you can see the horns up here on the top also get pretty darn big. They're all painted with that nice dark gray, and they all look extremely nice and overall very striking as far as the head sculpt goes. And again, that incredible scale work runs the entire length of the dinosaur's frill, and it's just off the charts beautiful. I think the head sculpt of this Sinoceratops is just insanely striking, and definitely one of the reasons I feel like this is potentially one of the best Mattel figures so far, but definitely, in my opinion, the best Ceratopsian without question. And I'm so happy that Mattel finally released the Sinoceratops instead of creating a Pachyrhinosaurus like they had done a while back and then just giving it the Sinoceratops name and a similar paint scheme. They have actually now rectified the situation and created the Sinoceratops itself. and it was definitely worth the wait for sure. Moving back here into the neck, again, some more really nice skin detail, skin texture going on. As we move back here into the body, you can see that the skin texture continues to look incredibly nicely done. As we move down here into the leg, you can see like some nice kind of like hanging skin right there. I really do like that. You also have lots of sort of like bumpy scales, like osteoderm-like scales that run down the course of the leg. Really nice folding of the skin right here in the joint of the leg. Beautiful foot sculpt. Again, unfortunately no nail paint, but the nails have a little bit of a gloss coat, so they shine fairly realistically. Look at all the detail that they've included on that leg sculpt. That is insane how much sculpt and detail they've put into this. Wow, even back here on the back of the frill, that really nice, very large scaling continues and just looks insanely beautiful. I love that they've given it like those holes in the frill as well. That looks super, super nice also. As we look up here at the top of the dinosaur, you can again see some more very large scales, similar to what we've seen on a lot of the ceratopsians in the Mattel line so far, but it looks really good on this figure as well. Once we move down here, if you look from up here, you can make out the rib cage. Again, some more of those like larger kind of like osteoderm-like scales here and there as well. You can see some really nice skin texturing here on the underside, some beautiful skin folds going on right there. The rear leg is similar to the front leg where we have like a nice leg sculpt, but it's kind of corroded with these sort of osteoderm-like scales. They also run out the length of the tail mostly here as well, which I think looks extremely cool and differentiates it quite a bit from previous ceratopsians from the Mattel line. Really nice muscle tone in both the thigh and calf region, as well as a beautiful foot sculpt back here. Really, really nicely done. And again, the tail, like I said, is an impressive length for sure. It has a very long tail in comparison to a lot of the other Mattel figures we've seen. Now, as far as difference goes, you're not going to see too much difference on this side compared to what we had seen on the previous side. You do have that really nicely sculpted nostril, which I probably forgot to mention earlier. But the only real difference on this side compared to the previous side probably is the fact that the legs are in different positions, as both of the legs on this side are ever so slightly forward, more so than the legs on the previous side. But again, the sculpt and detail is just off the charts. You have that really nice kind of creamy color that runs all over the back here. But other than that, the majority of the coloration of the figure is this nice bluish coloration, which I would never have expected a Sinoceratops to look so good being blue, but it really, really does. There is the Jurassic Facts app code to add this to your collection if you would like to do that. Again, the actual minute details of this Sinoceratops, it's just off the charts. It's insane looking as far as the sculpt goes. So much detail to be found. This is potentially, in my opinion, one of the most highly detailed sculpts from Mattel, and it really shines through in every aspect. Mattel continues to just outdo themselves with so many releases continuously. It is just crazy what they've done with the Jurassic World line, and again, this Sinoceratops is just an absolutely beautiful figure in every way. As far as articulation goes, you have almost all the same articulation that you usually have on ceratopsians. You do have neck articulation, which you can see I'm moving a little bit like this. It does go up and down, but I'm pretty sure if I push the head up, I'm probably going to activate the sound of the dinosaur, so we'll just wait a minute to do that. You can see that there is leg articulation in the front, and it moves really nicely. There's also leg articulation here in the back legs, as per usual when it comes to the Mattel figures. The legs do move out away from the body and then back in. And then you have tail articulation as well, but that also activates the sound strike feature of our dinosaur. So let's get an idea of what the action feature is as well as the sounds. So the action feature is quite nice. You can also move the head this way. So you have quite a bit of articulation to that head and tail area. And I will say I absolutely love the noises of this dinosaur figure. Really nice, and they sound very ceratopsian-like for the most part, which is something that I feel like Mattel does tend to kind of botch a little bit when it comes to their herbivores, because quite a few of their herbivores, especially when it comes to hadrosaurs, end up having more of like a predator type sound or almost like an Indominus type sound at times. But this one, for the most part, does have some really nice herbivore-like noises. So kudos to Mattel in that aspect for a size of our Sinoceratops, and that is also one very impressive factor to this figure is that it's actually quite large for being a Soundstrike figure. For a length, if we go from the horn to the tail, you are looking at about 13¼ inches or around 34 centimeters, maybe 33½ centimeters, somewhere in that range. And then for a height, the highest point clearly is the frill. You're looking at a little over 5 inches or around the 13 centimeter mark. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Sinoceratops. And next to these figures, again, you should hopefully have a good idea of what I was talking about when I said that this was definitely a pretty darn big Ceratopsian figure. I think it's safe to say that this is probably the largest Ceratopsian we've had until we get some sort of a colossal version. But again, next to these figures here, you should have a pretty good idea that this is definitely a very nicely sized figure sporting a pretty large size overall. So this Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous Soundstrike Sinoceratops is definitely one of the best Mattel releases this year, potentially so far when it comes to the Jurassic World line. It is an absolutely beautiful looking Sinoceratops figure. There literally is very little that I could even remotely complain about when it comes to this figure. In fact, I think the only really strong complaint that I can have is, again, the fact that we don't have nail paint, which is something that we continuously get. But imagine if we did. The nail paint would be really nice overall if they gave it just like that darker gray that we see up there on the horns. I feel like it would have just been absolutely gorgeous. But again, it even is, without the nail paint, it's still absolutely gorgeous. This is easily one of, in my opinion, one of the most highly detailed Mattel figures so far. There is just so much sculpt and detail included in this Sinoceratops. And again, this is pretty much the perfect candidate for a repaint. If you are someone that wanted to get into repainting some of the Mattel figures, I feel like you could not possibly choose a better figure to start out trying to paint on than this one, because I feel like with detail as good as this one has, it would almost paint itself for you, and I really feel like it, again, is just picture perfect for repainting. But the sculpt and detail on this is just insanely nicely done. So much sculpt as far as like those large scales you see up there on the frill area, the really nice detailing within each of the horns, those beautiful osteoderms and kind of like that bumpy scaly appearance to the body, and just generally everything on the figure is just insanely beautiful as far as the sculpt work goes. The paintwork as well is really, really appealing. Again, not looking like the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom version like we kind of are used to when it comes to a Jurassic World Sinoceratops, but we do have a really beautiful bluish coloration to the figure, and I feel like the colors used on this are actually extremely appealing overall, and definitely a really nice look for the figure. So the paintwork as well is beautiful, just like the sculpt work is. And then you combine that with the fact that you have some really nice articulation, beautiful action feature, and some incredibly nice noises that the dinosaur makes with the Soundstrike feature, and again, you have yourself a complete win as far as this Sinoceratops figure goes. So if you would like to pick this up, I will include a link in the description to Amazon, where this has been in and out of stock for quite a little while recently. So again, check that description. Make sure you pick up this beautiful Mattel Soundstrike Camp Cretaceous Sinoceratops, and make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.